There's a single sheet of paper in every Social Security office in America, and it takes about 20 minutes to fill out. Sign it in the wrong year, and it costs you $1,000 a month for the rest of your life. It's the Social Security retirement application, and the people getting it wrong are not careless. They're the careful ones. They retire on a Friday, they file on a Monday, because a guaranteed government check feels like the floor under the house. But that form is the one switch you cannot unflip. I'll walk you through the order that costs less using the 2026 figures published by the Social Security Administration itself, and I'll tell you when filing first is the right move, because this is not an always wait until 70 lecture. There's also a second bill hiding in this decision. It doesn't land the month you file. It shows up in a Medicare envelope about 2 years later. I'll come back to it. If you already filed, stay with me. The order still matters for the money you have left. 2 things, and then we work. This channel uses an AI narrator, and everything here is education, not advice for your household. I'm not a licensed advisor, a certified financial planner, or a tax professional. Nobody here can see your tax return, your medical chart, or your spouse's earnings record. Run your own numbers, or sit down with somebody licensed to do this work. And I'm using the 2026 rules as they stand today. I don't predict Congress. Watch how this actually goes in a real kitchen. You circle a Friday on the calendar. You retire. Monday morning, you're filing for Social Security because the check feels like the floor under the house. You leave the 401k statement in the drawer because somebody told you never to rate it. And if you have a pension, it simply starts. You didn't choose that one. That order feels responsible. But it's how a retired couple shrinks a check they can never unshrink, raises their own tax bill, and opens a Medicare letter 2 years later wondering what they did. Those 4 accounts are not 4 versions of the same paycheck. They're 4 switches, and every one runs on a different rulebook. Social Security you can turn on any month between 62 and 70, and whatever month you pick sets a payment that follows you for life. A 401k or traditional IRA opens at 59 and a half. The IRS treats every dollar like a paycheck, and required withdrawals begin at 73. A pension is usually a floor you cannot delay, and it's fully taxable. Cash in a savings account or shares in a brokerage account have no age gate at all, which often makes them the cheapest money in the house to spend first. The trap is not that you saved the wrong amount. The trap is that you switched them on in the order that felt safest, and the most expensive switch on that wall is the one almost everybody flips first, so let's price it. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. That's Social Security's own number printed on your statement, not something a neighbor said at a barbecue. File at 62 and they cut the check by about 30%, permanently, for life. Wait past 67 and it grows roughly 8% a year, up to 70, where you collect 124% of the full amount. Then the meter stops. Waiting past 70 does nothing. Social Security publishes a maximum benefit for people who paid in at the top ceiling every working year. Almost nobody watching is that person, so use a number closer to your kitchen table. Say your full benefit at 67 is $2,000 a month, which sits near this year's average retired worker check. File at 62 and you collect about $1,400. Wait until 70 and it's about $2,480. Same work record, same lifetime of pay stubs, roughly $1,080 a month apart, with cost of living raises compounding on the bigger one. Which brings up the only question that actually matters at that kitchen table. How long do you have to live for waiting to pay off? Run the arithmetic. Filing at 62 instead of 70 hands you 8 years of checks you'd otherwise skip. $1,400 a month for 96 months, roughly $134,000 collected early while your neighbor waits. But waiting buys $1,080 more every month, about $12,960 a year. Divide one into the other, and the crossover lands near age 80. Cost of living raises compound on the bigger check, so it usually arrives sooner. Live well past age 80, and the delay won. Don't, and filing early won. That's the actual bet, and your health belongs in the middle of it. Now, if you file before full retirement age and you're still working a job, 2026 has an earnings test waiting for you. Under full retirement age for the whole year, the limit is $24,480. Earn above that line, and they withhold $1 of benefits for every $2 over. People file at 62, keep the part-time job at the hardware store, then act surprised when the deposit comes up short. And that's only the Social Security side. The tax side is where this gets expensive. The IRS does not tax your Social Security based on how big the check is. They tax it based on what other income is sitting next to it on the same return. They call it combined income, your adjusted gross income plus tax-exempt interest plus half your Social Security benefit. Married, once that passes $32,000, up to half your benefit becomes taxable. Past $44,000, up to 85%. Single, those lines sit at $25,000 and $34,000. They were written into law decades ago and never indexed. Groceries moved, gas moved, housing moved. The lines did not. So watch what happens. You file for Social Security. Then the roof leaks, so you pull $20,000 out of the 401k to pay the contractor. That single withdrawal drags more of your Social Security onto the tax return with it. You didn't get a raise. You stacked two taxable events into one calendar year. Which brings me back to that second bill. Medicare calls it IRMA, the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. Your 2026 premiums are calculated by looking back at your 2024 tax return. The first surcharge line this year sits at $109,000 of modified adjusted gross income if you're single, $218,000 married filing jointly. Cross that line by a single dollar, and your Part B premium stops being the standard $202.90. It jumps. You won't see it the month you file. You'll see it in a plain white envelope 2 years later, long after you've forgotten which caused it. So let's build the alternative. It has a name. You build a bridge. For some stretch of years after you stop working, you cover the household bills without turning Social Security on at all. Not forever, just as long as your savings, your pension, and your honest monthly spending will carry it. For a handful of households, that bridge runs from 62 to 70. For most families at this table, it's 1 year or 3 or until 67 instead of 70. The win isn't a magic age. The win is that Social Security stops being the first tap you reach for. Cash and brokerage go first because there's no age penalty on either, and you're usually selling shares you already paid tax on once. Then you touch the 401k deliberately during those bridge years for 2 reasons. After 59 and a half, there's no 10% extra penalty on a normal withdrawal, and every dollar you draw down now isn't sitting in that account at 73 when required withdrawals begin whether you want them or not. Picture the alternative. Required withdrawals, plus a Social Security deposit, plus a pension payment, all landing in the same tax year. That's how a retired couple gets ambushed at 73. Roth money, if you have any, goes last. That account is your late life shock absorber, the money that covers a nursing home or a bad market year. Don't burn it on year 1 when you've got other accounts sitting right there. One more door, and most people have never heard of it. If you left your job in the year you turned 55 or later, some 401k plans let you withdraw under the Rule of 55, no 10% penalty even before 59 and a half. That's a question for your plan administrator, not a YouTube video. 59 and a half is not the only key on the ring. Now, hear what I did not say. I did not say drain the 401k. I did not say wait until 70 no matter what. I said stop making Social Security the first tap you reach for, and use the money you control to buy some those you file. That isn't failure, that's arithmetic. But how much delay is worth buying depends entirely on which household you're sitting in, and there are 4 of them. This is the part almost every retirement video skips. There is no single correct order. There are 4 maps, and picking up the wrong one is worse than using none. Map 1. Married. Neither of you has filed. The higher earner's benefit is the one that can also become the survivor check someday. So if you can only afford to delay one person, delaying the higher earner protects whichever one of you lives longer. Meanwhile, the lower earner filing earlier is sometimes how the household buys groceries during the bridge. Just don't file for both of you in the same week because you happen to retire in the same week. Map 2. One of you already filed. Do not copy them on autopilot. If your spouse filed at 62, your record is a separate decision with its own math. And if you're the higher earner with runway before 70, your delay still grows your check, and it grows what a survivor might have to live on. Quick note, because this is what fills the comments. I built all 4 maps as one-page printouts, and the link is in the description if you'd rather have them on paper. Stay with me though, because Map 4 contains a rule change a lot of retirees are still getting wrong. Map 3. Widow or widower. Completely different map. Survivor benefits carry their own filing ages and their own trade-offs against your work record, and the married map walks you straight into the wrong answer. I'm not going to fake survivor rules in 90 seconds. That one gets its own page for a reason. Map 4. A pension plus a 401k plus Social Security. The pension is your floor, so you plan around it. And this is the change I promised. For benefits payable from January 2024 forward, the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset are gone, repealed by the Social Security Fairness Act. So if you spent your career as a teacher, firefighter, or police officer with a pension that didn't pay into Social Security, throw out that 2019 article you bookmarked. Your Social Security may be a full check now, which makes delay more valuable, not less. But that pension still fills your taxable income every year, so the tax stack is every bit as real. Let me put a real household on the table because this is the one I see most often. Both of you are around 63, about $400,000 in the 401k, the house is paid off, there's no pension, and the bills run around $4,000 a month. The internet will tell this couple to wait until 70, but 8 years of bills at $48,000 a year is $384,000, and that's before a transmission goes or a water heater floods the basement. That nest egg is not a bridge to 70, that's a fantasy. It might be a very good bridge to 67, and 67 is full retirement age, full benefit, no 30% haircut for life. That is a completely different retirement than filing next Tuesday because the paperwork felt frightening. If one of them can hold a part-time job under that $24,480 earnings test line, the bridge gets easier to build. If they can't, they file for what they have to and delay what they can. That's the whole strategy in one sentence. Because sometimes filing first is the clean and correct answer, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Your health, or the health that runs in your family, can make a long delay a bet you don't want to take. A check you live to collect beats a bigger check you never see. Or the bridge doesn't close. You should not be borrowing against a paid-off house to chase delayed retirement credits. That's a gamble with the roof over your head. Or you're filing a survivor or divorced spouse application, which can be the better first form while your own record keeps growing quietly in the background. That's a paperwork decision, not a slogan. And if you filed within the last year, there's a form called SSA 521. You can sometimes withdraw the application within 12 months, one time only, and pay the benefits back. After that window closes, it's mostly baked. So don't spend the rest of this video punishing yourself at the kitchen table. Point this order at the 401k and that Medicare surcharge line going forward, because those switches are still in your hand. So write these 4 down before you close the laptop. 1. Don't make Social Security the first tap you turn. 2. If you were born in 1960 or later, 67 is your full retirement age. 62 costs you about 30% permanently. 3. Your other income decides how much of that check gets taxed, and the Medicare surcharge looks back 2 full years. 4. If the bills don't close, file. Then be careful with the very next switch. And if you keep one sentence out of the last 15 minutes, keep this one. The order you turn the money on can cost you more than the amount you saved. So you know what 62 costs, what a 401k withdrawal does to your tax return, what lands in the mailbox 2 years later, and which of the 4 maps is yours. If you want those maps on paper, I built the 2026 Claiming Order Map, 4 one-page situations, married and both still choosing, one spouse already filed, widow, and pension plus 401k plus Social Security. Down the side of every page, the age gates that change the rules: 59.5, 62, 65, 67, 70, 73. $37, link in the description. It's a map, not a personalized plan, and it is not advice. Then do one thing for me. Send this video to whoever in your house handles the paperwork, because that's the person who'll be holding the pen on a Monday morning. Next week, I'm covering what 59.5 actually unlocks and the traps sitting inside it. Subscribe so it finds you. I'll keep doing the homework and handing you the rules. You make the decision.